Hi, Heather Keys here with the Keys Group Real Estate Team, and today I'm here with.
Dustin DeHart with Keller Home Loans. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being
All right,
here.
appreciate it.
So, I have Dustin on our show today because I wanted to talk about what's going on with the feds and what that means for home buyers and sellers and the Las Vegas real estate market. So, why don't we start with asking you what happened last week?
Yeah, they met. so, and pretty much what happened was expected. So they left their key Fed fund rate unchanged, which pretty much everybody knew that was going to happen.
Mhm.
They did have more of a stance of, being more dovish in nature, meaning we know inflation's coming down. It's not as quickly as they want to see it, right? Because
Mhm.
inflation right now is a little over 3%, and they want to be at 2%, right?
Mm.
And unfortunately, we've just kind of been stalling out with inflation for about the last 9 months, and it actually ticked up a little bit last month. But they know it's a long journey, so it is still expected that they will cut 3 times this year, only 25 basis points. But that is a different stance though in the beginning of the year and the end of
Mhm.
last year, where most investors were thinking they were going to cut maybe 6 times and would
Mm.
have already done it by now, right? So, look, at the end of the day, we just need inflation to come down a little more, right? And
Mhm.
it is a long journey. The Fed doesn't want to then cut rates and have it spike back up. So, they're doing their best to juggle and maintain monetary policy to not kill jobs,
Mhm.
and, keep rates so high, but also to get inflation down, right? So it is a tough
Mhm.
job. So right now it looks, the consensus is about June or July
Mhm.
for the first rate cut for the Fed, okay? But again, that's going to be dependent on the forthcoming inflation reports. So we will see. So right now, rates are still, that high 6% range, which is a little
Mhm.
disappointing
Mhm.
because they were really in the low 6% range in the beginning of the year. And now Fannie Mae has kind of adjusted their rate prognostication to be still in the sixes by the end of the year, and then maybe going into next year, going in the low sixes, high fives. But those change all the time. So
Right.
next week or next month, we'll have you a better update and hopefully some good news
Mhm.
on inflation and interest rates.
Yeah. Okay. So for perspective, where was inflation when we were at 8% interest rates? Like what
Yeah.
was inflation like then?
Well, that's a great question. So it's the core rate that they look at,
Mm.
which excludes food and energy because the Fed can't
Mhm.
control that. That was 3% higher than it was, you know what I mean, where it
Mm.
is right now. So it has
Oh.
come down significantly. The problem is that the Federal Reserve, remember when inflation was, rearing its ugly head during the
Yeah.
COVID years because of the supply chain issues, they messed up and they know that
Mm.
because they said it's transitory. They weren't worried about it. Had they done a better job and nipped it in the bud earlier, we wouldn't be in quite a mess as we are right now. So that's
Mhm.
the problem. But yes, it has come down significantly. It's kind of stalled out right now,
Mhm.
but it will come down and rates will come down when no one knows for sure.
Well, that's
Right?
why you
Yeah,
were here.
yeah. My
What
crystal
are you
ball's
doing
in the
with the crystal
shop,
ball?
Heather. Sorry.
All right. And so if we could get that rate dropped
hmm
next in June, you said,
Yeah, yeah.
possibly in June,
hmm
how quickly do you think rates would be affected? Is that something that happens
hmm
like almost immediately, or is it something that takes still a little bit of lag time?
So that's another great question. So what their rate is, that's the overnight rate, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's going to impact credit cards,
Mm.
car loans, short-term rates, right? Home
Mm-hmm.
equity line of credit. So yes, immediately those rates would drop by that percentage point. It doesn't directly impact mortgage interest rates, which are longer
Mm-hmm.
term rates. But if the Fed's cutting their rate, means there's good bond news for mortgage rates, which will affect them to go down as well. Okay, so we
Mm-hmm.
need that to happen. That will also push down mortgage rates, but it wouldn't happen overnight. It's a slow, gradual
Mm-hmm.
process, all right? But it'll at least get us in the step in the right direction.
So I guess the news for Las Vegas home buyers at
Mhm.
this point is if you get into a home right now,
Yeah,
there's a possibility of some easing,
sure.
possibly middle of June. So maybe some light at the end of the
Yeah.
tunnel.
Yeah, look, the narrative I've been talking to clients for the last year and a half was if you can buy now. If you can afford the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, people that bought a year or a year and a half ago, right? And some they got a lower interest rate, most of them, right? And
Mm-hmm.
sellers were easily giving out seller concessions to even get the rate down more, right?
Right.
And they got a lower sales price, right? So the longer we wait for rates to come down, the higher you're going to buy that price, right? With that house. So the delta between that sales price and that lower rate kind of wash each other out, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you know as well as I do, when rates really drop, we're going to see a lot more people that are sitting on the fence. And
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be a multiple offer situation where you're going to have to bid over list price. So again, my thought is if you can buy now, then wait for rates to drop and refinance, and you will hopefully thank us for that advice, right?
Right. Well, and we're at really all time lows for inventory
Hmm.
right now. The
Yeah,
number of homes for sale
right.
is very low. It was 3,300 last week. And so we're kind of fighting that right
Hmm.
now. And then rates being where they are, we're kind of,
Sure,
okay, it's better to get into the market
sure. Yeah,
because that might go even lower once the rates start to ease up a little.
I couldn't agree with you more. And it's supply and demand. We all know that dictates what
Mhm.
the real estate market's going to do. And Heather, I've seen a couple contracts come in recently where they had to bid over list price and they're
Mhm.
waiving appraisal contingencies. We
Wow,
knew it was
that's
coming. I
crazy.
didn't really think it was coming this quickly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's not on every house, obviously.
Mm.
But the sooner the better. If you can, if it's a payment you're comfortable with, you really like the house, then my advice is go get it. And then
Mhm.
when time comes and we can refinance you, you're going to be very happy.
Awesome. So that's some glimmer of light
Hmm.
with real estate here in Las Vegas. Any other last words for what type? Actually, let me ask you, what programs are people
Yeah.
getting into right now? What kind of loan programs are you
Well,
seeing?
there's a myriad of different programs. For first-time home buyers, a lot of them are using down payment assistance programs.
Mm,
You don't even have to be a first-time home buyer. The great thing is when now the market's heating up again, we were getting people with down payment assistance and the seller was paying their closing costs. Some of them were literally buying a house with zero money out of their pocket. Right? That's going to
wow,
get
that's
harder
crazy
and
too.
harder to do.
Hmm.
But there are programs for people that have issues with income, meaning maybe they write off too much taxes or and they can't qualify with normal income
Hmm.
documentation. So there's a lot of different programs out. So it
Hmm.
just talking to a mortgage professional, going over all your options, and then getting with you guys, the best in the business, and go finding your dream home. Simple as that.
Hmm. So how long does it take to get qualified for a
Yeah.
mortgage these days?
Well, it doesn't take long, really.
Hmm.
A lot of people like to just do the application online.
Mm.
Once that's done, I call you right up. We go over a few things. Sometimes I don't even need any documentation. I can literally pull it all online. If I do, you can upload it securely. And if you get me what I need, you can literally have a pre-approval within about 30 minutes of filling that application. It's pretty quick,
Wow.
pretty easy. Yep.
So you try and make it pretty painless.
I do. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Sure.
I make it like a tetanus shot. You didn't even know you had it. So, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you and wanted to
Mhm.
start that process, we do have a link
Mhm.
below here that is directly to your loan
Awesome.
application
Yep.
site. So they can fill that out. And
Yep.
then it sounds like when you get everything back, you have a conversation with them about the
Mhm.
different options available to them. Is
Absolutely.
that right?
Different options, going over the different programs, the estimated payment that they're going to have, and then the estimated cash to close. And
Hmm.
then once that's all dialed in and they're ready to go, you guys know what you do next and do
Right.
best. Go find them a house, right?
Right. We
Simple as
work
that.
together really well.
Yep.
We have been
Been a
for how
long
many
time.
years?
Yeah. Who's counting? Huh?
All right.
Right.
So thanks for being on here today.
Yeah.
I'm Heather Keays with the Keays Group, and this is.
Dustin DeHart, Keller Home Loans. Thank you, Heather. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Excellent.